Hey everyone, my name's Nate. I'm going to teach you how to use Ableton Live. Why should you use Ableton? There's so many DAWs to choose from and they're all fantastic. Ableton is what I use, so that's why I suggest it to people. Once you get your version of Ableton installed, this is the first screen that you're going to see. This screen is called Session View. I personally never use this screen. It doesn't fit for my use case because I usually record in Ableton. In this tutorial, we're not going to go over Session View very much, but if you'd like to see a video just on Session View, leave a comment below. So the first thing we're going to do is hit Tab on our keyboard. This will bring us to Arrangement View. This is the interface of Ableton that I use. In the default template, you'll have 2 MIDI tracks and you'll have 2 audio tracks. Now the first thing that we should get into is dragging samples onto our Arrangement View. If we go over here to Samples, and you scroll down and find a sound that you like, let's try to find something melodic. Okay, this is a pretty cool piano sample. Let's listen to it. All you have to do to get a sample onto your arrangement view is click on the sample and drag it onto the screen. To delete tracks in arrangement view, you'll click on a track and you can hit delete. Now we're left with just a piano track. To add tracks, you can right-click and insert an audio track, or you can right-click and insert a MIDI track. Let's add some percussion to this piano sound. There's a couple different ways we can do this. One way is to use a drum rack. So let's go ahead and pull the drum rack onto the screen here. As you can see, I already have preloaded sounds here, so let's go ahead and get rid of those, and we can go back to our samples, and we can find a hi-hat. Let's find a kick drum. And let's find a snare. Once we've dragged our sounds into our drum rack, we want to create a MIDI clip on our timeline. We can do this by highlighting a selected area, right-clicking, and insert MIDI clip here in the menu, or you can Control-Shift-M to get a MIDI clip in there. Drag the screen up here, and you'll see that the notes on the piano roll are tied to the sounds that you input into the drum rack. In order to input notes into the drum rack, you can either double-click, or you can press B to draw and click once. And you can drag to input multiple notes, and to delete you can just click and delete, or drag a section, press delete. If you want to duplicate a section, you can highlight the selected area, right click, duplicate, or you can select the area, Control D will duplicate as well. So let's get a drum pattern going. Very nice. In order to loop a track, if you highlight the selected area and press Ctrl L, it'll loop. Let's go over clip properties and how we can adjust a clip to make it sound more unique. So let's click on our piano sample, and you'll see a bunch of buttons over here that will allow us to do certain things to the sound of the track. You'll see the pitch knob here. So if we solo this track, it'll only play this track. We'll play it. And as I'm playing it, I'll change the pitch knob and you'll hear an adjustment in the sound. There's a bunch of stuff we can do. We can take the warp off here, and adjusting the pitch will change the length of the sample. Very cool. So how do we add our own notes into this project? So one way you can start using your own sounds is by dragging in Simpler. This is a great tool that gives you a lot of control over the samples that you like to use. In this case, let's find a bass sound that fits with this. So once we found a sound that we like, it's similar to dragging stuff onto the timeline. You'll grab the sample and you'll bring it down to the Simpler. What we'll do is we'll insert another MIDI clip, press B, and then you'll see there's notes here instead of names of samples. So if we click here and drag it out, let's solo that track, and boom, we can start adding our own notes. Very cool. All right, so let's get this sounding right. Okay, now that we've got that sorted out, let's go ahead and start naming our tracks. So here, what you can do is you can right click and you can rename, or you can just press Control R and let's name it piano. Here we can name this drums, and here we can name this 808. You can also change the colors of your tracks. So if you want to right click, you can change this to pink, this to brown, I guess, and let's make this one blue. Another great tool we can use is clicking all these tracks, and you can right click and you can press group tracks, or you can press Control G, and these will put all the tracks into one group. Alright, let's get into making this track a little bit more unique by adding some effects. I'm just going to use the default Ableton effects. So what we can do here is we can add an EQ. With most other things in Ableton, it's just as simple as dragging what you want and putting it where you want it to go. So let's drag an EQ onto this piano roll. Let's put a high pass on it at about 100. Let's grab a saturator. We can solo the track to listen to it. Make it a little more unique by crushing the sound. Let's add a delay. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Let's play it with everything. Alright, pretty cool. Alright, so down here at the bottom you'll have return tracks. So on our piano track we added a delay. And adding the delay directly onto the track will kind of wash out the original sound. So if you want to retain the full sound of the piano, what we can do is we can delete this delay here, and we can use these knobs right here. We can turn this one all the way up. It's relative to the position down here. So this one will be for reverb, first. This one will be for delay, second. So we can open up this delay, set it to relatively the same settings, and now you'll hear this track. So this will just be the delay of the track. So if we play the piano, and if we don't want the delay to be so present, instead of turning the dry wet knob down, we can turn the volume of this channel down. And in the end, we still retain the sound of the piano. But if you like the way it sounded the other way, then go ahead and do whatever sounds good to you. Okay, let's totally get rid of this track, and we're going to start over by going over recording. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drum sample. Alright, this sample sounds super sick, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to Control D to duplicate it a couple times. I'm going to drag our looper over. Alright, let's go over how to record. I've got my guitar here. It's plugged in with a 1/4-inch cable to a preamp going into my interface. In order to record physical instruments, you have to have an interface. There's no other way to do it. So what we need to do is we need to add an audio track. So we'll right click, insert audio track, or you can Control T, whatever you'd like to do. You'll go over here to this little box in the middle. You don't need to change the top one most of the time, but if you'll go here, we have one of two inputs. So I'm plugged into the first input, and I'll turn my guitar up, and you'll start to see the green bar go up. If this isn't working for you, you just need to troubleshoot. Are you plugged into the right port? Do you have the right port selected? Do you have the audio drivers necessary for your interface? We can do a video on that later. So here we'll click in, and we should be able to hear my guitar. Very cool. Okay, so what we can do in order to record our guitar, we can click here on the arm track. We have to do this in order to record the sound. If we don't do that, if we go to record, nothing's happening. Everyone's confused. Why isn't it working? So we have to arm the track for recording. You can arm multiple tracks at a time by control clicking throughout the different arms. All right, let's go ahead and record on this track a little bit. So this track by itself could use a lead guitar and need some bass. So let's go ahead and throw that stuff on there. You're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to Control T. You're going to Control T to add an audio track. You're going to click in so you can hear yourself. And then we are going to arm the track for recording. And let's do a little lead track. Okay, now I have a bass guitar, same exact process. So what we're going to do is we're going to Control T, add a track, and so we can hear the bass. Very cool. And let's arm the track for recording. Let's lay down a bass track. Let's take a look at our final product. Sick. We went over the arrangement view interface, how to drag in samples, how to write in MIDI, how to delete, duplicate. The next video is probably going to be over mixing. I'm just going to take this little loop that we just made and make it sound real clean. If you'd like to see more of that, please leave a comment below, subscribe, like, follow, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!